Hello, welcome back to our channel. Today we've got an explosive story for you, literally. We're diving into the riveting history of the National Explosives Company, a game changer in Cornwall's industrial past. From groundbreaking innovations to dramatic explosions, from wartime heroics to a legacy that still resonates today, this story has it all. So buckle up and join us on this wild ride through history. First, a copyright disclaimer and explanation for the lack of content coming up with regards to historical photographs. In November 1909, Alec Begbie presented an album of photographs that he'd taken of workers and buildings around the National Explosives premises to William Bate, who was at the time site manager. This leaves us with a great record of how the factory looked when in operation. The album has been digitised and is now in the care of Crescent Kernow. And despite the fact that these photos can be viewed online, I have been informed that they are still in copyright and therefore cannot be reproduced. This is a great shame, as my original plan was to feature some of these old photos in the video. So, due to these copyright issues, the best I can offer is a link to the digital album, which I have placed in the description. The few old photographs that I have used were by implied permission of the originator, Andrew Westcott, who on his website at qsl.net states, "I'm happy for anyone to use this material for private, non-commercial or educational purposes, but credit to the author must be given." I've also linked his site in the description and credit to Andrew Westcott. Several other old photographs that have been used are from various means, including Google search and a few found in nostalgic Hayle publications. These images may be subject to copyright, and if your image is shown here and you do not want it to be, please let me know and I'll remove it immediately. All modern day colour photographs and footage in this video have been taken by me. The National Explosives Company was founded in 1888 by the Kennel Gunpowder Company. At that time, the mining explosives market was undergoing significant changes. Traditional black powder was being replaced by dynamite, and with Alfred Nobel's nitroglycerin patent expiring, there was a huge opportunity for innovation. The company was strategically located at Upton Towans near Hayle in Cornwall. This site was chosen for its coastal shipping access, local railway connection and ideal geographical features for explosives manufacturing. The initial focus was on producing nitroglycerin and dynamite, but they soon expanded to include gun cotton, cordite and other chemical propellants. One of the key figures behind the innovative factory design was Oscar Guttman, a Hungarian-born chemical engineer. He pioneered advanced safety concepts, utilising the nature topography of the sand dunes to create a gravity-based material flow, which eliminated the need for electrically driven transfer pumps. This not only increased efficiency, but also significantly reduced the risk of accidents. The factory was divided into two main zones, the service area and the danger zone. The service area housed the sulfuric and nitric acid factories, steam generation equipment and electricity generating facilities. The danger zone, which was located within the sand dunes, consisted of huts for manufacturing and storing dangerous materials. So the National Explosives Company saw massive expansion during World War I. The workforce increased to around 1,800 people, and additional production facilities were constructed. This period also saw significant infrastructure improvements, including the connection to the Great Western Railway, enhancing raw material transportation capabilities. However, working with explosives was incredibly dangerous. The company implemented special safety measures, including specialised workwear and extensive risk mitigation strategies. However, despite these efforts, there were several significant accidents, resulting in the deaths of at least 9 workers. Here are some pictures and actual recordings of women working in the explosives factories during World War I. Although none of these were from the National Explosives Company itself, as I couldn't find any from this location, they are from other locations around the country, and despite this, I'm sure that the sentiments were the same.
Well, when we went in, we had special clothes. You had they had a big factory floor with a partition down the middle, and what they call a clean and dirty. When you went in the morning, you took your coat and clothes off, put them in a kit bag, and that was called dirty. And then you went over that cross name in the middle, over to the clean. You put their overall on, which had a what's name on the back, your number and the WD on it, and a mob cap. You weren't supposed to wear any hairpins, any hooks and eyes, anything metal. You mustn't have on you. And special shoes with WD on, and we went into the clean. We wore our ordinary clothes, but you had to wear their overall. It was all covered up with mob caps, and because we weren't allowed to have any hair, anything in our hair, it was all loose, you know. No, nothing in his shoes to keep them on. No, nothing metal. No hooks and eyes, no, nothing metal, no buttons. Even linen buttons got a metal ring. Mustn't wear them.
Oh, well, a bit dingy and noisy. You couldn't hear yourself speak without shouting at you. The noise was terrible, really. I didn't, you know, all the machines going at the time. You couldn't make yourself heard. No, you could only talk when you was off duty, really. But you just got on with it. You had to stand all day long. It was a bit tiring there. But, I mean, no different to service. If wartime, and that was it.
So coming back around to accidents, one of the most notable incidents occurred on January the 5th, 1904, when 2 adjacent production huts were destroyed. 5 workers were killed instantly. The shockwave blew out windows and knocked people off their feet as far as St Ives, over 4 miles away.
The Hayle explosion. At Hayle, the inquiry into the cause of the death of the 4 men killed by the recent dynamite explosion at the National Explosives Company's works has been concluded. Thomas Vincent Jory said he heard 2 explosions and saw smoke issuing from the precipitating house first, and then from the filtering house, both of which were demolished. Captain Thompson, His Majesty's Chief Inspector of Explosives, said he had made a thorough examination of the probable causes of the disaster, and was of opinion that the explosion originated in the precipitating house, and was probably caused by the fall of a heavy substance. There were a few articles of that kind in the house, one of them being the lead cups which caught drippings from the taps of the nitroglycerin tanks, but he did not think the man was touching them. The probable cause of the explosion was that the man working in the precipitating house dropped half of the lid of the nitroglycerin tank into the latter. These lids were formed of wood and lead. In falling, it struck a slanting blow, which was the worst kind for causing an explosion. He recommended that for the lead cups there should be substituted others of a lighter material, and that the lids should also be made of lighter material. He considered that no blame could be attached to anyone for the disaster, as everything was carried out in accordance with the terms of the license and the rules of the works. He was satisfied as to the experience and capabilities of the deceased workmen, one of whom he had known personally. The amount of nitroglycerin exploded was £4,000. The jury returned a verdict of accidental death, adding that no blame attached to the company or officials, and hoped that the recommendations of the inspector would be carried out. They also recommended that during the time charges of nitroglycerin were being served, a qualified chemist should be present.
After World War I, the British explosives industry went into decline and the National Explosives Company closed in 1920. The site was largely demolished shortly after. However, Imperial Chemical Industries, ICI, retained a small group of magazines for the storage of commercial explosives and gunpowder, and they continued to use the site until the 1970s. Today, the legacy of the National Explosives Company reflects the volatile economic and industrial landscape of early 20th century Britain. From innovative beginnings to wartime significance and eventually decline, the company represents a crucial chapter in Cornwall's industrial heritage. All that is left are the remains of a few of the storage huts, the skeleton of the nitric acid factory and one remaining chimney, built in 1915, restored in 1988, and it then became a Grade 2 listed building in 2019. The rest of the vast area, over 300 acres, some of it used during World War II in Operation Starfish, has now very much returned to nature. The uneven surface caused partly by the mounds built around the huts, and the rest being down to the Luftwaffe bombing raids during Operation Starfish. Upton Towans is now home to various wildlife, including toads, adders, lizards, orchids and masses of butterflies. The reserve is important for the rare silver-studded blue butterfly in particular.
Upton's pride led them through furnaces of red and skies of blue, but faded has a
A short distance from the nitric acid factory remains are the remains of a cottage, which is known as Pierce's Cottage. Looking very sorry for itself now, it was once the home of John Pierce and his family, which is of course how it got its name. Mr. Pierce was in charge of moving the completed explosives around the factory by horse and cart. He apparently had the responsibility for the welfare of the horses and ponies on the site, and also maintained the carts. This job required considerable expertise in several areas, and was presumably considered important enough for him and his family to be permitted to live in a newly built cottage on the premises. It would seem that the workshop area was for farrier work and the repair of the wagons, along with other associated metalwork. On the opposite side of the footpath, running parallel with this cottage and the copse of trees, are some recent built housing, the backs of which are built onto the site of the railway line built between Hayle and the explosives works. This was known locally as the Dynamite Railway. The trains that ran along this line couldn't go too near to the explosive works, as this would be too dangerous, but they went as far as the cottage, and presumably Mr. Pierce would collect and drop off loads here with his horse and cart. The company had its own engine, specially built by Peckett and Son of Bristol. It was a 4-coupled saddle tank locomotive which, because of the dangers of setting off an explosion, had been fitted with a spark arresting funnel. There are no records or photos of this engine that I'm aware of, but after some extensive research I revealed that it might possibly have been sold to the wireworks at Cumbrawn in Monmouthshire in 1924 when retired from Cornwall, and following this information I found a couple of photographs of their engine. It fits the description and may well be the very same engine. It seems in the photographs that the spark arresting funnel guard had been removed, as there would have been no need for it, but it would have looked something like this. The railway platform is very overgrown, but still just visible in the trees. The cottage itself is in a very poor state of repair, having been allowed to deteriorate, the roof having long since collapsed. The layout of the cottage seems to be that of a 3-bedroom house, with kitchen and large lounge downstairs. There is a separate room built on the eastern side of the house, the only entrance to which is through a door directly to the outside. As there is no communication door between this room and the house, it is probable that this may have been a workshop area. The floor outside this room is paved with Metaline branded bricks. The only thing that I can find out about Metaline brand is that it was registered in 1885, but there is speculation in one paper that I researched that Metaline bricks are acid and heat resistant, and as such would help to prove that the large room could well have been a workshop of some kind. Further evidence to this being the remains of a compressed air tank positioned on a purpose-built plinth just outside said room. Another interesting find, and for me the most intriguing part of all the history of the area, was the discovery of a date plate nearby showing the year 1920. Now this baffled researchers for years, as 1920 was the year of its demise, not the year that it was built. The fact was finally revealed that this plate was not a date plate after all, but part of a wall in a storage area that had been a marker plate between stacks of explosives, in this case stack 19 and 20. Well, thanks for joining me on this historical journey, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, possibly even comment, and if you do the bell thingy, you'll be notified of more stories from the past as and when I do them. Meanwhile, I hope to see you next time.
From the past, burning bright but couldn't last. Battle cries and smoky haze, gone but not forgotten days.